And welcome into a post-Thanksgiving episode of The Scotsman. It's December 3rd as we're recording. I'm Brian Preece. He's Tanner Tripp. Today we're going to be talking about, we've got some all-Mountain West teams for Utah State football. 10 Aggies ended up on the list, 3 making the all-Mountain West first team. We're going bowling, so we'll talk a little bit about Utah State's. This is a disappointing loss against Boise State, but in general, they live to fight another day. And Utah State is waiting a bowl selection, so we'll talk about kind of where they're projected in the bowl landscape as things shape up over the final weekend, conference championship weekend. And then we'll talk a little bit about Aggie basketball, of course. But Tanner, I think the question that's on all of Aggie land's mind, everybody who loves the Thistle, would love to know if you have your Christmas tree up yet.
I do. Ornaments are up. Lights are up. Like the tree. Wreath, yes. Like the tree was definitely the first thing to go up. There's still boxes of Christmas decorations sitting in my living room that I need to put up. You got to remember, I have a 3-month-old at home. Things get chaotic.
That's why it needs to be up as quick as possible.
There's a little time to go around. No, so yesterday I saw the tree. There wasn't any ornaments on it yet, and I thought if we don't do this probably tomorrow, it will bleed into the second or third week of December, and then we'll be a week and a half away from Christmas, and there won't be any ornaments on the tree. So we got it done this morning.
Time starts to move quick. It's weird. So, all right, next question. Is it a real tree? Are you going with the actual smell and everything, or are you renting and you're like, nah, this is fake?
No, it was the year my wife and I got married, we just bought the cheapest Christmas tree from Walmart, and that's what we've been using the last few years. And we get the smelly plugins from Bath and Body Works that smell like Christmas trees. So then
no free ads though, Bath and Body Works.
Free ads.
You want us to mention you?
Even though we will accept sponsorships, but definitely fake tree, but it smells like Christmas in our house for sure.
I like it. I like where your head's at on that one. Yeah, we got ours set up. I think it was.
Are you a real tree guy?
I love a real tree, but the hassle of it.
Well,
I'm in my 40s. No, why? Why would I bother? So it's a fake tree. We got one. It's one of those that already has the lights on it and everything. And I've been periodically it's like one of those 3-foot tall things. It's just a little small one.
Charlie Brown tree.
My girlfriend and I. But the exciting part for me is I've just kind of been stashing random things in there. We don't have any actual ornaments. So, I put my credential from this weekend's Boise State game on the tree. I put Jerry Sloan's 2,223 games coached banner that I got from attending that Jazz game. That is the star on our Christmas tree.
Well, isn't it supposed to be? It's supposed to be things that are important to us.
Things that matter to us.
Yeah.
I've also been taking some decorations from around the house and hiding them inside the tree. And just kind of waiting to see if she notices. You're
giving me ideas
that I've just started.
I'm gonna start hanging hats.
There you
the
go.
Christmas tree. I've literally have dozens of hats. I could hang them like ornaments.
I was at Fashion Place Mall last night. We will start talking about Utah State sports, I promise.
For anyone that cares about our personal lives.
You want to know your podcasters, so you feel like we're one. Well, I was at Fashion Place Mall last night. I went into Lids, and they had this collector's set of hats. It's 3 hats and a pack of 3 cards and a scratch-off potential winner thing for $250. They're Mitchell and Ness hats. They're really, really nice.
What teams are they?
And they're completely 100% unique. Like any hat you get, they're not going to be. You can't buy them at any stores. They only come out of these packs. Any number of teams. So it's like a mystery box. And I convinced myself not to buy it last night. This morning I woke up, I still had that itch. So I watched some unboxing of the product. I'm glad I didn't buy it. I mean, it's cool, but I don't need a Jose Canseco hat with a big Tops flag on it.
Okay, so they're they're mystery boxes where you don't know what team you're getting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And like you might get an autograph on the hat, but of the two boxes I saw open, there weren't even autographs, so I'm glad I didn't spend the money. Hey, let's talk about Boise State this week.
We could talk about hats all day probably, but let's get on to the.
I don't know if you've noticed, I wear a different hat every time we record. So, it's a tough loss against Boise State. I mean, you're watching that game. Both of us were up there in the MAV, and in the second half, especially when it started to snow, I felt like that was Utah State's time.
I agree.
You know, we've got the lead. It starts to snow. It starts to feel like real football weather. And they let it slip from their grasp. I mean, they had every chance. They were leading into the fourth quarter, I believe it was, and they come up short. You know, what do you attribute that to? Was the moment too big? Was it guys just not getting the job done? Did Boise State step up when the chips were down?
Well, I mean, that is Boise State's pedigree, is that they just win games like that. Yeah. It's what they've done for years. I don't know what I attribute it to. Like there were several moments throughout that second half where Utah State was like a play away from just putting it to bed. Yeah. And whether it was a questionable coaching decision or Bryson Barnes overthrowing a wide open receiver by just a few feet, like they call it a game of inches because that's what it is. And they gave Boise State too many opportunities. For me, the big moment that had me really questioning like what was going on was between the third and fourth quarter when they decided against kicking a field goal inside 30 yards and went for it on 4th and 2.
And went for it, yeah.
And at that point, if they make the field goal, they're up by 8. And we all know how the rest of the game went. Like you mentioned it. People don't understand, I think, how windy it was. Like, it was whipping. It was really hard to throw the ball. And to get into that game, Boise State had to throw the ball at some point, and you could have just forced them to make more difficult plays down the stretch had you gone up by 8. And then, worst case scenario, they score a touchdown, 2-point conversion. The game is still tied, and you have a chance. And in the post game, Bronco cited analytics and a little bit of a gut feeling. And I think at this point in his career, Bronco has earned the benefit of the doubt. He's won a lot of games. And even if the gut feeling is what he's felt and gone with for his entire career, it doesn't mean it's going to work 100% of the time. And with the analytics thing, I don't know. We can get into that. There are situations where I really don't like going with the analytics because I think they almost override your logical thinking a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like if you go up 8, the worst that can happen is the game is tied. But if you go for it on 4th down and don't get it like they did, then you're down and you're forced to have to get behind the ball and go for it and really push the envelope.
Well, when you say that about analytics, I mean, it comes down to you've started to see it. I'm a big baseball guy, and we've seen it. The San Francisco Giants have been a team when they brought in Gabe Kapler as a manager, where they were so analytics heavy that they didn't want a manager. They wanted somebody in the dugout who did what the computers told them to. Mm-hmm. It wasn't about reading the players, and it wasn't about those gut instincts. And so, I understand what Bronco is saying when it comes to analytics. I get that you've got Bryson Barnes under center, and you feel like, yeah, if you can get that first down, we can ice this game away rather than, potentially having an 8-point lead. I would say, as you were talking, the thing that kept coming to my mind is, when Bronco mentions gut instinct, I think he's struggled the last 2 games. I mean, you have a kicker in that moment who has missed 4 of his past 6 field goal attempts. He's really had a hard time coming down the stretch, and so maybe as part of that gut instinct that understanding of, okay, I know what my locker room is like. I know how this guy's been feeling. I know what the wind is like right now. Maybe we're on the wrong hash. Maybe, there's so many different thoughts that go into that. It's hard to nitpick, but I'm right there with you. I look at even more. You mentioned a couple of overthrows, and I can count 2, maybe 3 overthrows on deep balls where Bryson missed either Brady Boyd or Braden Pagan.
Yeah.
And if you connect on just one of those, this is a completely different football game.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was too late. I think it was like either their second to last drive, and it was a missed assignment by the defense, and it was either Boyd or Pagan that just got completely behind the defense, and it was outstretched and just barely beyond his fingertips. And I mean, that's the game right there, because I think at that point Utah State was down. If he catches that ball, they score a touchdown, and I think the game is over at that point. It's tough. It's so marginal. And that's also something that Bronco brought up, is that in the Mountain West this deep into the season, it comes down to a few plays. So I can't get on Bryson because he's made all the plays all year. Like, he's the reason that this team is bowl eligible. Like, he has willed them to victory in so many games. It's just tough to see him just barely not be able to get it done in a game like this where you have the chance to go undefeated at home. You're playing a rival that has beaten you so many times in games like this. You could have finished the season with a winning record. You go out of the Mountain West Conference on a high note. There were just so many cool storylines with this game that we could be talking about, but unfortunately we're not because of a few plays.
We've talked a lot this year, and I know Bronco is a guy who focuses on the psychology of sports a lot. And as you talk about those different types of storylines, and of course, it would have been great to beat Boise State and end that losing streak as you head into the Pac-12, to finish the regular season undefeated at home, to have that winning record at the end of the year. But for this team in particular, do you think this is a team that needs those motivations, or are those more storylines for us as fans and media?
Of course they're for fans. We love that kind of stuff. It's the reason we love sports. It's the reason that I got into it when I was so young, and I'm still here, is because you love the stories. And I have no doubt that the guys on the sideline are aware of those kind of things, but they're probably not thinking about it play to play.
I don't think they're walking off the field after the loss going, "Damn, we're 6-6, not 7-5."
So
I don't know. I just think it's interesting to think about the psychology of us versus those guys in the locker room, and how they, because it's the same thing, but how do they view it? What is their perspective on it? And I find it fascinating, especially with a team that is so focused on the mental side of football, and just improving day in and day out. Yeah. Should we move on, talk about the all Mountain West teams?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, this was a fun one. I think really Bryson Barnes, probably the only guy that was in any consideration for one of the top postseason awards, whether it be Offensive Player of the Year or Conference Player of the Year. Obviously ends up coming short on both of those. Barnes is named to the Mountain West second team, joining Miles Davis on the second team. And then the Aggies, for a defense that had, we had a lot of question marks about coming into the season. We had question marks throughout the season, but they end up with 2 guys on the All Mountain West first team, linebacker John Miller and cornerback / safety Noah Avenger, and then they had 4 other guys make the honorable mention list. I mean, this was a defense that really stood out compared to what the expectations were coming into the season.
I think it comes down to the individual motivation of those guys. Like, every play they were in on it. Those are just dogs, and They held it down at the beginning of the season where they were going through it a little bit. They lost one of their emotional leaders for a few games. And we talked about it throughout those weeks. Noah Avenger really stepping up in that role. But I like to see guys go for it, especially when they're not expected to. Like, every excuse to not perform as a unit. But I think it helps an entire unit when you have those guys at the top that are just like, I'm going to go 100% balls to the wall the entire time. So I think those guys earned it, and there's a reason they're there.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, the 5 guys that land on the first or second team, one is a junior, and that's wide receiver Braden Pagan. Avenger is a senior, and the other 3 guys are all graduate seniors. And I think that speaks to the strong leadership component at the top of this roster. And also, I believe it sends an incredible message to guys, young players coming into this program, that you want to fight so hard. You've heard these guys talk about fighting for the brothers, fighting for the guy next to them. And you see people like a John Miller, who is never going to play football again, more than likely after this, like Bryson Barnes, who, unless he wants to go to Canada, is probably never going to play football again after this. But they are laying it on the line every single week and giving absolutely everything. And I just can't imagine what that says to some of the younger players on this roster. I mean, you look at a guy like Anthony Garcia, who came in as a quarterback and ends up being just a gadget guy all over the offense. And you see just how hard guys work, and you see what it takes. I think that what you can learn simply by observation is huge for a program like Utah State as they build right now. Yeah,
I think the building blocks of the culture in the future, super important, and bringing in those older guys like this year to kind of be almost teachers for underclassmen and guys that are going to have a few more years in the program. It will trickle down for years to come, for sure.
Yeah, it's, and that's fun to watch. And on that note, that transitioned us really easily to today's National Signing Day class. The Aggies announced a 17-man class. And I have never been big on the college recruiting scene, because, as you and I said before this, the odds that a lot of these guys play a significant role for Utah State in the next 5 years are relatively slim. So it's one of those, you want to celebrate these guys as they sign, as they enter college and embark on a new part of their lives. And so that being said, Utah State ends up, of the 17 players, 14 of them were 3-star players, which I think speaks volumes. I mean, you're talking about these guys coming out of high school. If you are a 3-star guy, odds are you probably had other offers at potentially bigger programs. So it becomes a question of, is Utah State offering playing time? Is that the Big Blue Collective and their NIL funds? Are those things coming through to where Utah State is winning some of these recruiting battles with other mid-major schools?
Just a question, of those 3-stars, where are a lot of them from? Is it Utah, Idaho, kind of this region?
Well, I mean, just looking at the list overall, let me pull up the actual email that we got from Doug earlier today. I believe there were 7 of those players from the Mountain West, or from Utah. And then, let's see, give you the exact number. 7 from Utah, 3 each from California and Texas, which is pretty much, par for the course for Utah. And then 1 each from Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, and we got a Canadian.
Cool. I mean, that map makes sense to me. But to get 7 3-stars from the state of Utah, when you consider the other programs and their caliber, I think that's huge. And I think that's why you bring in a guy like Bronco, a guy that has been here for such a long time, a guy who has he's such a recognizable name, and he's associated with winning. I think it's really awesome that they're competing with those kind of recruits within the state. So,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that Bronco is able to do that some of the coaches in Utah State past have been able to, Blake Anderson would be an example. Blake comes in and he doesn't understand the recruiting around players that want to go on missions and things like
For
that.
sure.
And so that's something that is really important, has always been a staple of Bronco Mendenhall's recruiting, whether it be at BYU, at Virginia. He was heavy with LDS players, and now at Utah State as well, of course. I'm sure there was an influence of that at New Mexico. So I think he brings an ability to be able to talk to some of these local kids and say, hey, I understand your situation. And if you want to go serve a mission for the church right now, we get that. We'll be supportive of you, and you have a spot. If you want to, you'll get guys who will come in redshirt for a year, and then they go and serve their mission sometimes. And I think that Bronco being understanding of that process and being able to work through it and give these kids confidence that not only is he saying, yes, we can work around that, but when Bronco Mendenhall gives you his word, I think you can trust him, and that's something that people growing up, high school kids growing up in and around the state of Utah know that.
I think it's such from a national perspective, it's something that so many people don't understand. Like, there's a reason, like, obviously BYU's head coach is going to be a member of the church, but there's a reason that Kyle Whittingham, head coach at Utah, member of the church, and now offensive coordinator who came from New Mexico, Beck, he's a member of the church, and obviously Bronco. You need those ties within your programs here locally and here regionally, like you talked about, Idaho, Arizona, a lot from Colorado. It's important. And we, like you mentioned, we saw Utah State stray away from it, and it didn't work, and that's for a reason. Like, it's huge, and it's something that's kind of hard to explain to people who don't get it.
Yeah, it's almost unexplainable for people who are outside the state. I mean, there are probably other places who have similar things, but I don't think it's nearly as widespread. Of course, you got to mention this is just the early National Signing Day class. So these 17 players coming in, but the Aggies are going to finalize their 2026 class on Wednesday, February 4th. So circle the calendars for that one. And I think now we can move on, probably, unless you have anything else to say about that. Should we talk some Aggie basketball?
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, I'm so excited.
Man, did you watch the Montana State game? Were you able to go up there?
I did not go up there, but here from the station, I was locked in on that second half. And you honestly, a Montana State team at home, you probably hope to beat them by more. But playing games like this early in the season, super important in kind of getting yourself ready for conference play and a lot of the similar games you're going to be playing.
Well, we've already seen, when you're talking about Mountain West non-conference play, we've already seen San Diego State lose to Division III school, was it?
No,
Division
so that was
II?
Boise State. They lost to Hawaii Pacific at home.
That's right. And then San Diego State
lost to Troy at home.
Yeah. So we have seen these Mountain West teams with games that you would expect. You look at the schedule and you're like, that's a W.
Well, not even expect. Like, historically,
yeah,
those teams, those programs don't lose those games.
So it's, with the way the transfer portal is, I think that's a huge part of this, is that you get guys, even at a school like Montana State, you never know who it is that they're going to recruit in the transfer portal that just needed that 1 year of seasoning. They're going to end up in the perfect spot, and they're going to be able to burst. And so you end up playing teams that are talented. And like you said, it's just nice to get a game like this under your belt. Sometimes you win by too much for too long, and the question starts to be, well, what's going to happen when they get tested? What's going to happen when it's a close game down the stretch? How are they going to respond if they're down by 3 going into the final minute? And so for Utah State, yes, you'd love to see a win against Montana State by double figures. You'd love to cruise through that one and be able to get deep into the bench. But all things considered, I don't think that's a
No.
bad result in that game. You get the win, you go to overtime, you're tested, you get some of these young players that end up having to play pressure minutes that they haven't in the past, and you give your group, that five-man closing group that really hasn't had a chance or a need to play together and gel under any type of pressure, you give them that chance.
Well,
so I think it's a big game.
Yeah, I think also Jared Calhoun is very intentional in the teams that he schedules for non-conference. Montana State is a team that 3 out of the last 4 years has been to the NCAA tournament. They've won the Big Sky. And you remember, that's where Danny Sprinkle came from. And we saw the success that he had in 1 year at Utah State. Like, Montana State is a storied program that expects to win and go to the NCAA tournament any year. And I think Jared Calhoun, his thinking is probably, this is a game that we should win, but it's also an opponent that's going to give us everything we can handle. And boy, did they. Like, incredible fight and an incredible game down the stretch. And we saw what we want to see out of the leaders on that team. Specifically, Mason Falslev is what I'm getting at on the defensive end and just making the big plays. And it's stuff that obviously steals show up on the stat sheet, but like the intangible and incredible like instincts that he has in those crunch time moments when an offensive player is backing down his defender and he turns his head away for 1 second and boom, Mason is on him and he knocks the ball out of his hands, off his shin, and it's Utah State ball. And that was at the end of regulation.
Is amazing.
And that comes from so much practice and watching film, probably understanding players' tendencies. But it happened so quickly, like in the blink of an eye, and you could tell he was waiting for it to happen. And that was a really cool basketball moment, like from a like just a basketball perspective. Like, that is an incredible play, a moment in a long game that just like made the entire difference.
What gets me going with this team, the offense, there's just the ability to play inside out, outside in. But what really gets me excited about this team is on the defensive end. When I watch them, I believe that no matter the five-man unit they have on the floor, they will have 3 guards that when at any given moment, if they decide they want to take away, they will get their hands on the basketball. They may not force a turnover, but they'll get their hands on a pass.
And
they might create a loose ball. They might waste a few seconds on the shot clock, but that's enough.
Like, that turns into knocking an offense out of its rhythm, out of the play they're trying to run. They gather the ball with 12 seconds left on the shot clock, and then it comes down to a guard trying to make a play. But then I also saw, like, Carson Templin took 2 charges down the stretch in the last few minutes. Just like heady plays. This team is so locked in on the defensive end, and that's what wins you games late in the season.
Their defense is so impressive. I mean, looking at some of the numbers, not only is this a team that is... Oh, boy, where did I put my stats? I got them on the wrong page, Tanner. The Aggies are not only the leading scoring team in the Mountain West, but this is the best defensive team, or the second best defensive team in the conference. But I believe they've played a lot better schedule than Grand Canyon has. They're averaging 67.3 points, forcing almost 12 steals a game. And I know I mentioned it last week, but I don't see any reason at all why there needs to be a regression back to the mean for this Aggie defense. I feel like there's just nothing out of the norm. They're doing what I expect when I see those guys on the floor. They're just that good defensively. And I mean, you mentioned Mason Falslev. The way that Mason is able to combine with Drake Allen in the backcourt defensively, and then you've got MJ Collins and Colby King and Jordy Barnes, and Elijah Perriman comes in, and with his length, he gives teams fits. I mean, this team is so good defensively, and they're good at every level. You know, you can pressure a team full court. You can extend your defense out to the half court line and a half court set. If teams want to feed the ball inside, you have good post defenders, and you have an intelligence quotient on your defense to where you have guys that when somebody's trying to post up, guards like Falslev and Drake Allen are always crashing and trying to swipe and knock a ball loose. Like there's just there's so much energy defensively. It's unlike most teams that you see in college basketball.
And I think what that turns into for the rest of the year, the winning formula for this team is going to either be, because you mentioned it, they're also the highest scoring offense in the conference. So that's going to turn into blowouts or games where, because I think it's an old adage in sports, the defense travels. If your offense has an off night, your defense is always going to be there. So I think there are going to be a lot of games that they win by larger margins, but also if their offense is not having a great night, they're going to be able to lock it down and maybe win a game where you only score 45, 50 points. Like we see those every once in a while, but I'm not afraid for when the team faces a bad shooting night, when they can't get a three to fall, when it seems like there's a cap on the rim. So
and we've seen Utah State teams in the past win games that way, but I think that this one is a little bit different offensively because they can do more offensively. I don't worry about this team going cold from three and then going scoreless.
And then having nothing else
the way I did last year. Because if you go cold from three, you still have a post presence. You still have slashing guards who can get to the basket. I mean, like, worst comes to worst, MJ Collins is unlike any guard Utah State has had in my memory. Like, you can't even compare him to J.C. Carroll because J.C. was just not as good as MJ with the ball in his hands. Where if you go through a drought, you've gone 3 minutes without scoring, give MJ the ball, put the other four guys on the other side of the floor, clear out and go. Because MJ Collins is probably as or more athletic and explosive than any player on the floor every single night. So
if this team has an area to improve or a weak spot, what is it?
Rebounding. I think they need to be a better rebounding team, and free throws have in the last couple of years they've just been a little bit of a bugaboo. I mean, Mason Falslev, for whatever reason, has always struggled at the free throw line, and so I think if I had to point to anything, rebounding would be the first one, and then down the stretch when you do get into those close games, how well are you going to be able to knock down free throws?
Yeah, so you mentioned that, and Utah State is in the bottom half of the conference so far in free throw shooting percentage. They're seventh at just under 71%. And then on both offensive and defensive rebounding, they are fourth so far. So, yeah, if there's an area to improve. And I think the good thing is that the things that they need to solve are not huge things. Like, they're not worried about putting the ball in the basket. They're not worried about letting other teams go on huge runs.
Like rebounding is an effort thing.
Exactly. Well, and it's something that you can fix over the course of a season. A few practices, you focus on rebounding, you can probably get it improved. Versus, like, if you have an offense that can't score the ball, that's something that you're trying to fix every day.
And you're always afraid that it's going to come back and bite you at the worst time.
So it's the luxury things, like free throw shooting and rebounding, I would say are luxuries.
Yes.
So if you can focus on those things as opposed to not letting a team score 85 points on you, hopefully they can grow in those areas.
Do you think Utah State has set themselves up to be, as we're, December 3rd, we're recording, are they the team to beat to start the month of December? In the Mountain West.
It would be hard to say that they're not.
You've got Utah State at 7-0. Colorado State, New Mexico, and Wyoming are all 6-2. And then Fresno State and Nevada at 6-3. Nobody else has more than 5 wins.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're going to enter the month of December with no losses, I think you automatically have the big target on your back. Every team's going to want to hand you your first L. But they're performing better than any other team. We touched on it briefly, but I think they've played a harder non-conference than most of the other elite programs in this conference. Like you said, Grand Canyon, San Diego State, Boise State. I think they've played a harder non-conference. I think they're more prepared to enter conference play. So, yes, I think, and I do think that non-conference sets up the expectations for what conference play is going to look like. Mm-hmm. So, at this point, Utah State is probably the team to beat.
Yeah, I feel like with the 7-0 record and just knowing the home court advantage that the Spectrum is night in and night out, it's hard to not say that this Utah State team is the team to beat in the Mountain West. But we know how good this conference is year in and year out. Yeah, San Diego State has dropped some games this year. Boise State has gotten off to a slow start this season. Those teams are going to bounce back. New Mexico is always good. Wyoming, a little bit of a surprise right now, but that's always a tough place to go in Laramie. So the Mountain West is such a good and deep basketball conference. And year in and year out, you're talking if there's 3 easy wins on the schedule in conference play, you're pretty happy about that.
I remember last year.
It's going to be a battle.
Last year, San Jose State won less than 10 games, if I'm remembering correctly, and we were messaging as Utah State was getting basically jumped on. They were on the ropes against San Jose State.
Yeah.
It happens in this conference. And I think this year, say what you want to say, but the final iteration of this Mountain West, everybody's going to want to win it. You're going to want to leave either it's the teams that are leaving that are going to want to say in the last year of that conference we won it, or it's teams like New Mexico, Wyoming, San Jose State that are staying in the conference that want to say, hey, we control it. Doesn't matter if you're leaving. So I think there's going to be a little bit extra competitiveness through conference play and then into that Mountain West tournament. But just quickly to run through the December schedule, the Aggies play 5 games. 3 of them are on the road. They are in Southern Florida and then Charlotte tomorrow and then on Sunday. Then they come home for a non-conference bout against Illinois State, and then we start conference play against Colorado State at home, and then we are at Fresno State, and then at Fresno State, and then that finishes the December schedule. So in those 5.
I was just going to say, pretty big break between those 2 conference games, Colorado State and Fresno State, right?
Yeah, 10 days. So,
yeah.
Well, and that's due to Utah State is playing their first conference game early because they have Memphis in the Spectrum at the end of the year. So that first game against Colorado State is going to be a week earlier than the Mountain West. Then the rest of the Mountain West starts their conference play. But I think it's going to be great. A little bit of a break, celebrate Christmas with their families, and then it's almost like the college basketball season doesn't start until after Christmas. You get a taste.
I was just going to ask if it feels like now that football is wrapping up, does it feel like basketball is kind of stepping in a little bit more now?
Well, and there's gonna be less football games to watch from week to week as teams get eliminated, both from college football and the NFL. Basketball is going to start to make its rise. I think NBA on Christmas Day for me is when it's okay, we're here.
That's the start of the NBA season.
And then,
I'm with you on that.
Then in January, it gets dark at 4 o'clock, and you're just in your house watching college basketball for the rest of the night.
Just trying to stay warm.
Yeah.
All right. So, as you said, South Florida tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be in Tampa at 5 o'clock on ESPN Plus. Then they head up to Charlotte for a noon tip-off on Sunday. Couple of Sunday games this year already. That's kind of interesting. And reminder, Illinois State, that's going to be at Delta Center down here in Salt Lake. So get your tickets for that one. That'll be a fun non-conference matchup. It's always fun to get to Delta Center. I think BYU's already played a couple of games there.
They play tonight.
State has a game coming up.
I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's great to get these college kids in an NBA arena like that. Yeah, it's fun, and it's fun for fans, especially for a team like Utah State. A lot of people who maybe aren't Jazz fans, so they're not traveling down to and getting the chance to go to an NBA arena and see Delta Center. Undergone a lot of changes over the last couple of years, so it's worth it to come down. I think this Utah State team is worth seeing. But where can they find the podcast, Tanner?
Podcasts on Spotify, YouTube. You can watch in the video form, YouTube Music, Apple Music. Yeah, that's where you can watch and listen to us talk about the Aggies.
You can find all my written stuff about Utah State. Wrote up a story about the All Mountain West football team and their National Signing Day class. Published both of those today, so make sure and check those out. And everything else at KSLSports.com. I mean, we've got everything in the state of Utah, and then you on the TV side. Yep. You're building out that product and doing a spectacular job. So if it says KSL, give us some support. We like it. And remember, rate, follow, share, review. Whatever all of those verbs are for things that you're supposed to do with podcasts. Let's make sure those get done.
I think it would be fun in the future if we can figure out a tasteful way to do it, a way to get some of our listeners involved, where they want to ask questions about our thoughts about the program or how things are going, but like maybe a comment section, mail time kind of thing. So we'll figure that out, but we definitely want to get you guys more involved.
Yeah, if you want to engage, please reach out to us. Find me on Twitter at bpriest24, and Tanner, you are on Twitter.
Yep, Tanner_Tripp, TRIPP, 2-piece.
I knew it was something in there. It's like that Pete Davidson. You want to go by PP?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I know.
No.
How about PP? You want to go by PP? How about just Pete?
Okay, so really quick before we go, I had to ask who Pete Davidson is. I thought he was like musical artist or something. Somebody had to tell me he's a comedian. I'm old. I'm sorry. I watch sports. It's what I do. Thank you for tuning into the Scotsman. Go Aggies.
Go Aggies.
We love this time of year. And remember, Sunday night as well. Got to throw this one in there. Utah State finds out where they're going to go bowling. Yep. So tune into that. I believe that's going to be an ESPN selection show Sunday night. So
and we'll
thank
talk
you.
We'll talk all about all of it next week.
Yep, it's going to be great. We'll be back next Wednesday. Have a wonderful evening. Go Aggies.